What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster here on this finally Friday, February 10th, 2023. It's about 12:20 p.m. here along the west coast in California. And latest earthquake shows a 4.0 over here in the Turkey area. Still seeing quite a bit of aftershock activity there overnight, and that should continue for a little while. Sometimes it goes on for months, if not years at a time, when it comes to the aftershock activity following a large earthquake. So movement kicking up there overnight and into the course of the afternoon. Now on the globe here, I'm seeing a 6.1 over here around the Tonga Trench. I went ahead and pulled that up. Let me show you guys here real quick. I went ahead and pulled up that 6.1, which is being reported by the GeoNet servers here. They're actually the only one reporting this earthquake, showing that it struck out here 6:06 a.m. February 11th. That's going to be local time here to this region, and I'm not 100% certain if this is a legit earthquake or not. GeoNet has been a little on the questionable side when it comes to the correctiveness of the earthquakes that come in, or the ones that they report. USGS not showing that earthquake down here. They do have a 5.3 coming in, and I'm guessing that's going to be right around that same time period as what the GeoNet servers are showing. 6:06 a.m. And over here it's going to be 9:06 UTC time. So that pretty much matches up with that time frame. But that's quite a downgrade there from a 6-pointer to a 5.3. The EMSC model now, these guys are showing a 5.3. So more than likely, GeoNet a little bit overblown on the magnitude for that earthquake that struck earlier up there around the Tonga Trench. Now that's not a big earthquake. We are getting a little bit of activity overnight as well, southward along the Kermadec Islands, New Zealand region, and relatively shallow movement it looks like today, except for this earthquake here yesterday, about the northern end of the Kermadec Trench. That was 264 kilometers deep from yesterday. Now, got to remember that deeper earthquake movement does trigger and add further strain upstream, kind of like what we're seeing here today. Two more shallower earthquakes following that deeper movement. But it is kind of working its way down south here. I've been noticing a trend over the last couple weeks here. Just kind of, if you will, working its way down the plate boundary towards the New Zealand area. Now, the latest volcanic drums across New Zealand, not a whole lot going on. Looks like there was a little bit of minor earthquake activity that was being picked up. The earthquake map here shows, looks like a 1.6 about an hour ago, 2.3 North Island. That one's 261 kilometers deep. And mostly generally light earthquake activity across the New Zealand area today. Things relatively minor for now. All right, back to the earthquake activity westward here. Papua New Guinea, Philippines area. Had two earthquakes here on the map. One from yesterday and one this morning, a 5.0 into the Indonesia area down here in the blue circle. And up north into the Kermadec Trench. Nothing showing up here today. This one was coming in late last night there for that 4.4, 105 kilometers deep into the Kermadec Trench. Not seeing a whole lot of uptick here across the region today. Notice that things have died off across the area of the Indonesia area, the Molucca Sea, Banda Sea region, all showing less activity than what we've seen in, well, a couple weeks. It's been relatively active in terms of earthquake swarms around this region. So it looks as though a couple different areas to watch when stuff like that takes place. I think areas south and east here and regions around the Kermadec Trench might want to be on guard with this pause of activity further west. So that would include areas Papua New Guinea, through the Solomon Islands and up through the Fiji area, and then down through the Kermadec Trench. We'll watch those regions here over the course of the next couple days. All right, Turkey, we got a 2.4 coming in much further to the east of that area. See what we got for the latest quake. There's that 4-pointer. Quite a bit of aftershock overnight, aftershock activity. Let's see where this 2.4 is kicking off here. Armenia area, it looks like. Not a big earthquake whatsoever, but definitely seeing a little bit of migration there to the east. Notice that trend of earthquakes here across the region, working its way eastward here. And haven't really seen too much movement south. There's still obviously a little bit of earthquake activity working its way around this plate boundary, around the Dead Sea fault system there. But no major unusual activity across the Mediterranean area. I'm kind of waiting on that, seeing how that plays out here in the future, considering all this movement that we've seen across Turkey over the last few days. It's got to go somewhere. We got to watch some certain regions, and I think a couple areas maybe around the Mediterranean area. Eastern Afghanistan did see a 4.2. This one coming in yesterday, and down into the Indian Ocean, the Carlsberg Ridge, Mid-Indian Ridge out here, 4.7 from yesterday as well. Atlantic Ocean, got one earthquake out in the Central Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a 4.9, coming in a few hours ago, early in the morning, about 5 o'clock my time. South Sandwich Trench down here from yesterday, 5.0. Let's see, areas of interest around the Puerto Rico region. Notice the swarming has halted down here across the southwestern area of the Puerto Rico region again. And that has kind of spread out that activity. That tends to be a trend here. We've been noticing it here over the last week. The swarms have died down in this area, while movement across the region generally picks up, similar to what we've seen over the last 24 hours here with that 4-pointer into the Dominican Republic region, and a little bit of activity up north around the Puerto Rico Trench as well. South America only got 2 earthquakes here listed on the map. Those early in the morning, couple 4s down there into the Peru-Chile Trench. Now, see what we got for the EMSC model here. For that region, generally light activity. Looks like maybe there was a 3.8 in there as well. But no major swarms, no major uptick across the South America region for now. All right, up here to the States. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Of course, New Madrid zone been showing a little bit of activity with that 3.1. Looks like they updated that, upgraded that. That was a 3-pointer. We looked at the historical data here from over the last year or so. There's been a couple 3.2s in the last year. This is about the largest one since the summer of last year. So 3.1, New Madrid seismic zone. That was followed up by, it looks like, a 2.0 overnight. A little bit of seismic increase in that area. Definitely a major hazard zone for many folks out there. Got a couple earthquakes out in the Texas area this morning as well. A couple 2s out there around the oil and the pumping operations in Texas. Yellowstone National Park. Notice there's a lot more earthquake activity up here on the map again. Did have a 2.8 overnight. Along with, you guys ready for this one? Look at this. The return of the swarm. Last night we're looking at, earthquake activity kind of dying down in the Yellowstone area. That came back just as quick as I announced that it was gone. So a lot of earthquake activity overnight here. Looks like it kicked up right around, seems like just right after the update last night. There's going to be that 2-pointer, 2.8. All these other earthquakes are under the Obviously under the two. I'm thinking about underneath the 2.0 threshold. Haven't really looked at specifics. Most of them are 1.8, a couple smaller ones. And these guys only showing, yeah, it looks like it picked up around 10 o'clock last night or so. These guys are showing about 14 earthquakes, the largest a 2.8, as I showed you. But there's definitely a lot more than what's being reported. Again, these guys, for the most part, will pinpoint some of the more easily defined quakes, and that's going to be the ones here in the red, the more thicker red lines, indicating a little bit more easier, access as to where the location was, the depth, and the magnitude. But got to remember, if you look closely, notice these blue lines. They don't have any red spikes on them, but these are all earthquakes as well. These bluer ones are much smaller, but there's a lot. So you can probably triple that number that the USGS here has on this map. So either way, earthquake activity continuing there at Yellowstone. I do have a station keyed up here, Lake Yellowstone, and now that's a little further to the southeast of where the swarming activity is occurring. This is going to be the station right here. That's going to be down here. It will pick up some of the 2s and of course anything above that, but the smaller quakes not necessarily will show up on that graph. I've been having trouble accessing a couple local stations here in the vicinity of that swarm, but we'll try it maybe throughout the day and see if I can't get them, because I like to see the see how many quakes are coming in onto the live data. Mount Rainier got a little bit of activity around it today. Some from yesterday and some from today. Not a whole lot going on. Got about 3 listed up on the map. Let's check out the volcanic seismicity map. By the way, tremor map from yesterday. 82 epicenters down here into Oregon, southern Oregon, in the Cascadia subduction zone, and a little bit up north into Washington. So for Mount Rainier, latest seismograph station here. Let's see here. Is this one functionable? Let's see if it is. St. Andrews Rock. We'll see if this one's up and running today. Maybe, maybe not. Round and round she goes. I don't know if that one's going to work. It's taken much longer than expected. Hey, it worked. Let's see here. This is that technical glitch that always pops up. Seems like every day or so. Not for sure what it is. It's almost like something comes on or there's an adjustment. Maybe a recalibration every certain hours with this seismograph station. That's got to be what it is. But as far as earthquake activity goes, there's a couple spikes listed up here on the map. Very small, very, very small earthquakes. And the USGS only showing, well, that one up here. Let's see where's that one at the top of Mount Rainier. It looks like a 0.3. Yeah, 14. 1425. I don't know. That might be it right here. But either way, not a whole lot of earthquake activity out there at Mount Rainier compared to Yellowstone. Yellowstone's definitely kicking up a nice little swarm. One little earthquake down in Mount Hood, right smack dab at the crater area, close to the summit, or I should say, little 0.6. And for fun, let's go ahead and check out Mount Hood here real quick. And we'll take a look. There's that little earthquake right here. So we're going to check out the top of Palmer Lift, pending it's not creating environmental interference with its operations. And we'll see how it is. There it is. That's going to be the little earthquake reported there by the USGS, little 0.6. 1833, right about here. Aside from that, maybe if you look really closely, there might be another small quake or not, but maybe a couple in there, but nothing big. And these are all the interference, environmental noises that I'm talking about. Looks like, who knows what could be the ski lifts up there. Either way, not earthquake activity, not volcanic activity. Northern California, seen a little bit of activity overnight with a 3.0, 28 kilometers deep. Now, this is not surface earthquake activity, but related to the Cascadia subduction zone that sits offshore here. This is a plate boundary. Underneath this area is, in fact, this plate that's been subducting for many, 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 many years underneath the North American plate. And that strain has been building up here upstream. And, since about 1700, that's when the last major earthquake occurred out here along the Cascadia. And it's building for the next one. Continuing to see some earthquake activity upstream from the tremor levels which occur further underneath this area as we head to the right on the map. But for now, 3.0, 28 kilometers deep. Rest of Northern California, movement around the Clear Lake volcanic field. Bay Area looks awfully quiet today. Look at that. Nothing going on. Ridgecrest has calmed down as well. Long Valley supervolcano. A little bit of movement into the Southern California area, but nothing drastic. Got one earthquake just off the San Andreas Fault here. Looks like it's on the, the San Bernardino Mountains section there. Mill Creek Fault. No major swarms around that area currently. Alaska, about the same. One earthquake along the Aleutian Trench here, 113 kilometers deep, 4.2. All right, space weather activity, and then we're going to check on that cyclone. Cyclone Gabrielle, out there around the New Zealand area. We'll take a look at the track and see where it's headed. Notice flaring activity is looking up and down here. It's quite a bit of M-flare activity over the last 3 days. Although that sunspot, the one that's creating quite a bit of uptick in solar weather right now, it's still flaring. Notice the brightness here. Starting to scoot off towards the northwestern limb, and it will be doing so further as we head through the day and the evening. And over the coming days, it will be out of sight, out of mind, but still very active. And we're left with a whole bunch of new sunspots that are coming around the eastern limb of the sun. We're going to watch those pretty closely. They are very large and very active. 3220, 3217, 3219 is a large regional sunspot cluster down here on the southeastern section of the sun. But when that rotates into view, that's going to be directly, squarely lined up with Earth. And I'm going to watch this sunspot pretty closely as it's looking very unstable. And it's growing. 3213, of course, that's the one I just showed you. That is scooting off here to the northwestern section of the sun, the one that's produced many M-flares. And that's still looking fairly dynamic. There's a lot of closeness there in the polarities of that structure of the magnetic field. And it's growing as well. These other sunspots that we're kind of watching, questionable. There's not a whole lot of dynamics compared to these three sunspots, I should say. But definitely worth watching as we head into the weekend and early next week. Right now, there's a 15% chance for an X flare, M flare at 75% chance, and C flare at 99% possibility. And yeah, things are definitely kicking up here. We did have a couple CMEs blast off from AR 3213 and AR 3217. AR 3217 and 13, that's going to be this one up here, and that major sunspot region down here. So these two are the most likely troublesome areas for us here on the planet. 3213, though, like I said, it's the newest image. If you look over here, it is scooting off on the northwestern section of the sun. So even if it produces a good-sized CME, probably not going to be Earth-directed with this location, this position of that sunspot currently, and that will only continue to rotate further off on the northwestern limb of the sun. This one did produce a CME earlier this morning as well. Not a big one, but again, this one's kind of not directly facing Earth. It needs to be in a little bit better position to be geo-effective in terms of all that those charged particles and plasma that would be shooting off from a CME. So I don't think we have to worry too much about any major solar storms headed this way. The forecast looks green for now until we get these lined up into position, and we'll see how they behave. But yeah, it's definitely pretty active, very active there with the solar flux index right now, 215, getting elevated. Was up there around 234, I think, over the last, it's been, I think, a couple months now, right? I think it was back in early January. Either way, we'll definitely keep an eye on it and report back on any major changes that take place out here. All right, going to go over here to the southern hemisphere down here, and we're going to check out this cyclone that's kind of kicking up and getting much closer here to New Zealand. It's looking pretty massive. Of course, you got that clockwise rotation. To me, that looks odd because I'm used to obviously seeing, low pressures and hurricanes in the northern hemisphere go the other way. Read all about that. Well, we learned all about that in our weather classes over the fall semester. All right, so this is a current area of interest. Now, there's not, looks like about 82 mile per hour gust with this cyclone here. We're going to kind of put this into progression here a little bit and see where this takes us. Of course, the winds are going to be amplified as it goes over the water, and I'm kind of curious to see where this is going to head out to, because we checked this a couple nights ago, and it showed a direct impact with the North Island, New Zealand area, just due to the upper level wind patterns and whatnot. And it still kind of looks like it is going to hit right around North Island, New Zealand, but it doesn't look as strong as originally forecasted. Now, this is still a couple days out. Looks like around Monday time period. There's some strong winds right about here, just off the North Island, New Zealand area. And that's going to be definitely up there around close to 100 miles an hour with those wind gusts. And then some down here hitting the North Island from the southeast. So it's definitely still going to be a dandy of a storm. But we'll continue to check back on it. We'll do a little bit more in-depth review later this evening. But again, yeah, it looks like it's weakened a little bit according to this model. This is the ECM WF model, the GFS model here. Let's see what it's got here. That's showing even a little bit weaker conditions for that weather model. But again, it will tune up and be more accurate as time goes on. Either way, forecasted to still hit the North Island, New Zealand area. Strength and the category is all subject to change there. But we'll report back on that a little bit later this evening after some more data. Now, wasn't I just talking about this, guys? Wasn't I just chatting about this? Areas to watch. Watch the beginning of this update, right? With this lacking activity here, that swarming area that we've been kind of watching over the last couple weeks. When it dies down, there's regions obviously to watch, and I think the main one would be back prior to this activity. We chatted, what'd I say, Papua New Guinea southeastward. Bada boom, bada bang. Look at that, coming right in as we speak. Spoke that right into existence. 5.2 Solomon Sea, Solomon Islands area. Just north of the Solomon Sea, 38 kilometers deep. This is a major zone here as well. This area can get some major earthquakes in that little, I shouldn't say little, but that good-sized subduction zone level. All right, 5.2 coming in, Papua New Guinea area, Solomon Islands. We'll be back here a little bit later on this evening, folks, with, of course, some further updates on the cyclone there for New Zealand, and we'll be watching the activity continue on the sun, and of course plate dynamics in full force here today. We'll catch you guys a little bit later on. Have a good one.